Hey guys, welcome to another episode. We are just a mere 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks away from Fiat Freakout 2022 in the Woodlands, Texas. And we are that much closer to being ready to meet everybody, and I'm very excited to see you guys there. Just a couple quick things as we get ready to attack today's project is when you're at Freakout, if you're going, look for the big yellow sign. That's going to be me. I'm going to have this sign with me in the car. So as we're out and about, look for the yellow sign and come find me. I want to meet you. A couple of quick things, as we do still have some merch available that you can get before Freakout. We have the drink sleeves for $5, and we still have a few shirts left. They're only 15. Shipping is not included in that. Just send me an email at garagetimetv@gmail.com, and we will get you set up with the merch that you can wear to Freakout. If you want to pick it up at Freakout and avoid the shipping costs, that's not a problem. Just make sure you include that in the email, and we can get that set up for you. But on to the fun stuff. As we're still getting ready for Freakout, you know, last week I said we didn't really have anything left to do besides the top. Well, my friends at Vick Auto, I called them, I said, hey, you know what? Let's look good for Freakout. Do you guys have any tops in stock? And they said, of course we do. And I don't even know why I asked, because of course they have stuff in stock. And they said, absolutely, we'll get you one. I ordered it yesterday, and it's here today. So the top was here overnight, and I got it out, drying out, relaxing out in the sun, so we can start putting it on and start disassembling our current top. Now let me show you guys what top we're working with and why we need to replace it. So this is the top that came with the car when I bought it well over a year ago, and I'm sure you've seen it in all the other videos how faded and awful this is. It's missing the hooks that attach to the top here. It's also missing the grab handle in the middle. I think we'll come up with something for that to make it a little bit more unique to tie it into the car. But I'm gonna pull this up and show you guys just why you gotta fix it. So the most obvious thing is that there's a massive cut in the back, and even if there wasn't a massive cut, the plastic is pretty yellowed, cracked, you know, just not holding up well. We've got a lot of fading here. Paint looks like it's on here. So this has really got to be taken apart and cleaned up. Luckily we've got all new guide wires, we've got the new top, we've got awesome trim adhesive to really get this stuck on there well. So this is why it's coming off. Unfortunately, you know, it's just this big cut, but the top itself is actually in really good shape. It's just this plastic is cut all the way through and even into the top. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this off completely. We're gonna remove the entire arms of it, all the crossbars, the entire mechanism. There's a couple screws that hold it in. We're gonna move the whole thing up out of the car, strip it, get it all painted up, make it nice and black all over again, break off any of that loose surface rust that's on there, and paint it, grease up all the connections so we have a nice smooth convertible top working and functioning. Once we get the frame put back in, we'll put the top, the new top on it. There's gonna be a lot of pieces to this. It's gonna be over a several day project, but I'll do my best to kind of show you guys the highlights of it and show you just how easy it is to do, just as long as you take your time. So first things first is we're gonna start removing these plastic trim covers on the top here, and there's a couple bolts on the inside. I'll show you guys those on how to remove those so we can get this whole thing up and out. So there's a really easy way to remove the entire top as one piece, and we can deal with it off the car where we have some more room to work. There's actually two Allen head bolts inside the car. There's one here, there's one right up top here behind this flap. If you actually drop the top, it'll expose that one. And there's also just some Phillips screws on this back bow here. Well, the top is off, and you can see officially how much of a pain in the butt that is when you're by yourself. So if you have somebody to help you do this, I would recommend doing it. But we got that top off. We got it off here. There's this back bow that goes along the back side here. So you gotta make sure you unscrew that along with that black one with the Phillips screws in it. But this is the top officially off. And with me, make sure we replicate some of these felt pieces back here. So the new one that's here that has the Velcro type material can attach here as well. The other thing we want to look at is to make sure how this was attached. I have a feeling this may have been original or a quick after replacement. But you can see how it was attached. and it's just literally crumbling apart. And all of this surface rust, we're going to take a nice wire wheel to it, break all that off, and get some nice fresh paint on here, tape off the windows, all that stuff. This is all that kind of rain preventative stuff, so if the water drips through, it goes out through the bottom. We'll lubricate all these joints. See if we can flip it over here. It's got the guide wires in it. That's what those little wires are. You can see this one's got kind of like a plastic piece to it, and that's how it kind of covers the bow. So I think that one just kind of broke off and it's brittle with age. We'll take these off, clean all these joints up, clean up all the polish that we can. So this is going to be a lot of cleaning. I'm just taking notes of how this is attached because we want to make sure we duplicate that as best as possible. And I'm really glad we're replacing it because this is just gross. So now that paint is really dry to the touch, we did a nice light coats on that, so it dried pretty quick out here in the sun. We're going to be putting new tensioner cables on this. You could reuse the old ones, but we're already here, so we're going to put in some new ones. We're just going to grab one of them, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a rivet, we're going to go through it on the front, then on the back we're going to reuse the washers that were on it. We're going to put it through like this, just like that. Make sure the wire is behind this lip. We're going to take our rivet gun, we're going to suck it down, we're going to put it on both sides. So we've got the top laid on top of here, just loosely. We don't actually have it attached. Really? Cutting your grass right now? Anyway. What we've got is a coat hanger with some blue tape attached to the end of that cable we just put on with the grommet here. And there's actually a little slit right here at the top, and we're going to feed it all the way back to the end, and there's an end grommet on the other side, and we just have to feed it through. You could try and make a little bubble out of it and try and feed the wire through, but this has just been the easiest method I've found out. So let's get this feed it through on this side and the other. So we've got those wires fed, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking this flap over this front lip. Traditionally, there used to be from the factory a like foam pad that was here, but we're not going to go through all the work and put that foam padding there. We just put a little bit of light dusting of adhesive on there, so we want to make sure that we're kind of going quick here. We don't want it to dry on us. But we're just going to get these around the lip on the front of the top here. Like that, nice and smooth. We got it nice and tight and even across. Good right at the bend. A little more on this side. There we go, right at the bend. Now as this gets on there more, it's going to start stretching. That's why I left it out in the heat for practically all day. That's why it started to get a little darker out here in the afternoon, but we've got that on there. So let's make sure that sits nice and even. Now what we can do is, while this is drying, is we can start moving this back to the car. So now we've got this bolted back in for the most part. We've only did the two Allen head screws on the sides. Got those set up. We actually had the shadow marks where this used to sit, so we were able to line it up pretty straight to where it originally was. So now we're going to insert these some new plastic pieces. These actually are on the bottom here. These L's, there's one for each side, driver and passenger. we're going to feed these through, and this is actually what the metal piece, the other metal piece that we painted that sits here, actually hooks onto, so it has something to grip. Now yours are probably okay, but again, we're already here, so I want to make sure that we have nice fresh stuff that's going to last us a really long time, and so I'm just replacing it. And you do have to feed it through the middle, so that curve at the end is going to fight you until it gets all the way past here, until it sits all the way up where this cable is. So we get both of these in there, and then we'll be able to bring it down with that metal piece to hook onto it. Well, it's day 2. We're continuing on with our convertible top. We're in the home stretch on the last bit of pieces. They're just kind of tedious, time-consuming things, but we're going to be working on the last bits now that it's finally in the car. We've got our rubber for the front. This is actually what meets the top windshield and the top of the convertible. This is where they meet together and create that weatherproof seal in the front of the car. It's actually a little long, which is perfect because that means we can trim it to fit. We'll just center it and trim it to the right length that we need. And this is why I always get my parts from Vick's, because they just kind of know about your DIY self that you want to trim to fit, and it makes it a lot easier and more unique fit for your car. I'll put a link in the description for all the parts that I have. They will be down below for everything here, so you guys have that as a reference. We'll also be working on, along with that, on the very top bow, I'm going to show you guys a really inexpensive way to kind of work on that decorative piece up there where the latches are and the grab handle to put it up and down. Ours was really out of shape, and it just crumbled in our hand. So I'm going to show you a really good, inexpensive way to fix that, make it look like new again. Put in the rubber, we're going to jump on that back bow, put the tension on those wires, start kind of locking everything up, and we should be in the home stretch and get this thing knocked out in no time. So, day 2, let's get started. So I'm going to show you guys how you can recover this top bow area for really affordable and something you can just grab at any sort of fabric store around you. This is a duck fabric material. It was $9 a yard, and it was on sale on top of that. So I got this solid black duck fabric material. I kept the old cover here and trimmed it to fit, cutting it out with that same pattern. I did it upside down because one side had a little bit better finish than the other. So I cut it out and I applied it on there, did a lot of test fitting, and I was able to center it on there first and start applying the glue. So I used a really strong super glue. You could use in spray glue as well. I was just really afraid of the overspray getting on our nice new top, and this gel super glue was really controlled use, so I just went little by little and glued it on there. And then I went onto the top and started gluing on the top down where the rubber will cover it anyway, so it doesn't have to be a beautiful connection. It just needs to blend between the top and where this new cover is, and let that glue dry, let it set up, and it will hold down really nice. We will have to glue the very bottom edge up to the top of the bow through the canvas top from the underside when the top is up and installed. So now we're going to install those latches. They set up like this, if I remember correctly, because when I top, really? Is that really necessary? So like I was saying, we're going to install this top, and we're going to hook them in here. You want the little kick out to be towards the middle so you can grab it on the inside, so they're going to hook on like this. Little trick I like to do is first I'm going to find the holes and mark them. I'm going to heat up a Phillips screwdriver with the torch, get it really nice and hot, go right on my marks, and it'll punch right through with a nice clean round hole. And the hot screwdriver singes the edge of the material so it won't fray over time and fall apart. Alright, I was out of gas, had to switch over. So we did our holes for our latches, and I went to go put my latches in, and I realized that the ones that I have are too narrow for our holes, so I have the wrong latches, but that's okay. We can get some more. We'll just put it in order over at Vick's, and we'll get those delivered over here. Just 2 screws, a little plate back there, put it in there, wham bam, you're done. So we're gonna start moving on to this rubber strip here. Now it's kind of this L with a big D in the middle, and we're going to put it in here. There's like a grippy side. That grippy side is going to go down, and we're just going to put some screws in it. We'll be able to push back on this, and there's supposed to be a piece of plastic that comes in here. Again, I didn't order that, but we can always add that in later, and we'll screw that down, and then we'll center it real well before we do that, and then we'll trim off the excess when we get it up to the top, so it's a nice finish edge on there. So it's nice all the way to the end, all the way to the end of our window, and so it's a nice clean end. So we're gonna get some screws, screw this in there, and then we can finally move on to the back side. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to clean up this surface here. We're just going to dust it off. If there's any little rust spots, we'll do some rust treatment on it. But what we're going to do is we're going to get this back bow back on. Now it is a really tight fit, so you're going to have to kind of squeeze the ends to get it in. And once you do, this back part that we put those white long running pieces in, those big white long plastic pieces, they come all the way up. What you're going to do is you're going to fold these back out, and you'll be able to get them up underneath it. Now I'm not going to screw this in. I'm going to get it in place, and then I'm going to feed this up underneath it, and that's what creates the watertight seal on the back side, so we don't have water coming up in here. It's going to be a little bit of a fight because I'm on my own. So again, this is where it really pays off to have somebody with you, but this is where we're going to be doing it. We'll probably loosely put the screws in place. That way it keeps the bow from just flying off and just having to start all over again. We've got that back edge installed, and I just kind of placed this bar on the back here. But you can see how it's starting to come together, and we know this top is really new because when we try to get up front, we haven't trimmed it yet. When we try to come up front, there's a lot of gap to make up. Now there's some adjustment we can make with our bolts on the bottom. We can kind of lift the top up a little bit and get it in there, but it's really tight because it's so new. So it hasn't been stretched yet, and in reality you do want this to be nice and tight. That's why those clasps are really big and strong on the corners here. You really want this nice and tight, that way it really stretches out and really keeps the moisture out of the car. And of course when this comes all the way up, the Velcro attaches here on the back side. So this is looking much better, more like a car again, and not with a big old cut through it. So we've got little things here and there to tuck back in, but all of these are tightened back up here, all on the back side. Those are all nice and tight. The next thing we're going to do is get the guide wires. They go through these here on the side. We're going to go over, kind of make an S shape through it, just like that, nice and tight, and tighten that up. Just for now, because since we don't have the hooks on the top to close it all the way and then attach those, we're just going to make do with what we've got for now until those come in. It's not a big deal. We can make that little adjustment just by loosening those and pulling that wire out a little bit more. So after this, we're going to start moving on to the crossbars. You can see this one's a little off, just like that. And we will take some of these flaps. We'll take, again, our magical glue, do one side, wrap it around, then wrap the other, keep it nice and tight. Our very front one does have the plastic guard that came with it, so that'll go there, and we'll just wrap the middle and the back. So this is the time-consuming part, when all the glue sets, because I don't want to rush it, because if you do, it just starts falling apart and it looks bad, and we definitely don't want that. So we've got those glued in. They're not absolutely gorgeous, but we're really only going to have the top up if it's raining on us. I just want to have a nice dry area to get home in. We're able to put this plastic piece back in. We've just got to adjust that other side. But altogether, it looks really good. Just used the glue, some clamps, really just made sure it was attached. But we did not make it super tight. So maybe I can hold this and do this at the same time. So what you may notice is that there's slack. There's slack in all this because it has to move. So I don't want it to be super tight and constricting because it'll pop all the glue and start falling apart again. So I did leave a little bit of gap for the top to wiggle, for it to fold down. And as we come out, we can see that the crossbows are in the right spot and looking good. Our gap in the front, we were able to trim this. If we had those clamps, the clips that hold it down, we'd be able to get it down in there a little tighter. Now this is a really good time to do this actually, now that it's still summertime. What we could do is set this out in the sun for a full day, and since we don't have the clips, we could probably ratchet strap this down or forward to the front of the car or at something away from the car to keep this pulled down. That way it really stretches it out in the sun and gives it a good chance to relax. That way we don't have to fight this in a time of emergency, but unfortunately we're just gonna have to wait for those clasps to come in to seal it down. But we're almost there. But man, this is so much better than that awful cut faded top that was on here. So we're gonna do the little detail things. We're gonna put the weather stripping back on. We got the little end caps here. Put that back on there. These are all nice and set. Make sure these are on the outside of all of our mechanisms. These look great. I just wish we had those clamps to hold that down, but you know, thought they were gonna work. So much better, and it's such an improvement. Alright guys, well this is going to be the end of this convertible top installation video. Unfortunately, without our clamps that hook it to the top frame, we're not going to be able to completely hook it up and lay it nice and flat. We don't have all of our interior pieces installed quite yet, just because we do need to get those clamps to set this into place and then put the tension on those cables. And if we put the seat and that back decorative bow and all that stuff back in there, we're just going to take it all back out. So I haven't put that back in yet, but this is a basic principle. It's in there. You would clamp it down, and this is a really good opportunity because this weekend is supposed to be nice and sunny. So we're going to set this outside for 2-3 days straight in the sun, and I'll figure out a way to strap this down, whether it's with a ratchet strap pushing down on it or something to put some tension on this. That way the material will relax and stretch out and get all these little creases out of it, things like that. Remember, this has been sitting in the box since it was made, so this hasn't seen any sunlight or anything like that. But this looks really good. We've got that nice new rubber installed as well, and it just makes a huge difference and a good peace of mind, because you know there may be times where we get stuck out in some sprinkles or something like that. You know, we did that cruising video last week, and that's what happened to us. It was starting to sprinkle, so we had to rush home so we wouldn't get rained on. But we shouldn't have this installed quite yet, but we do now, and it's a really straightforward, easy process. Take your time. It can be done rushed, but if you do it rushed, you are going to forget something, or it's not going to be straight or set or anything like that. And have patience. That is the number one thing, is be patient. Don't get frustrated. Let it sit out in the sun before you even put it on. That way it's nice and malleable, something to work with, and makes it a lot easier to install. But that's going to be the end of this. Next week we will be doing a live stream video, so we will not have a new episode for next week. We'll just be going live on the channel here in the garage. I'll set up the laptop, grab the little camera, and have a conversation with you guys, ask questions, you know, what you want to see, stuff like that, because the following weekend is Fiat Freakout, and we're going to be there, and I'm very excited. I'm going to bring the merch with me. If you guys do want to have some of that before Freakout, or if you want to pick it up at Freakout, you have that option as well. Just send me an email at garagetimetv@gmail.com, and we'll get that set up so you don't have to pay shipping. You can pick it up at Fiat Freakout, and I'll have it ready for you there with your name and all that good stuff on it. We still do have the shirts. Those are 15 a piece, and the drink sleeves are 5. Those really go to help to support the channel, keep the channel up and growing and going. That way we can keep reviving cars like this. So like I said, next week we're going to go live. I cannot wait to talk to all you guys live in person here in the garage. It's going to be a really good time. It was really good last time we did it when we hit that 1,000 subscriber mark. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys about that then. But yeah, this is a really easy, straightforward job. That's going to be the end of this episode. And as always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help the channel and it helps us grow. So until next time, we'll see you.